Start.
Hi, good morning. Today we are discussing about the Australian rental crisis, Renters Voices Australia. My name is Mishra Patel and my other group members is
Myself, Drashti Patel. My student ID is SWH8066.
My name is Vishal Chawda and my student ID is SWH8065.
Hi, my name is Akash Pishnangbala and my student ID is EMV82428.
welcome to our press briefing on Australia rental crisis. We are representing on behalf of Renter Voices Australia, a charity that exists to amplify the voices of renters and advocate of fair housing policies. Our research group from Holmes Institute has investigated this crisis through a marketing research approach. Combining quantitative and qualitative methods over the next 10 minutes, we will present key findings, highlight the lived realities of renters, and share recommendations that can help drive awareness, empathy, and policy change. Together, data and storytelling will bring renters' struggle into focus.
This presentation is designed in the style of the press conference where we as a researchers act as a spokespeople for renters. The aim is not to only share numbers but also to communicate urgency and the impact. Rental affordability and competition are no longer silent issue. They dominate social media, community discussion and personal lives. We invite you to imagine yourself standing outside a rental property competing against dozens of others, uncertain if you will secure a roof over your head. That's the reality millions face today, and this is why our finding matters so deeply.
Talking about the charity, Renters Voice Australia is a not-for-profit advocacy group dedicated to representing the voice of renters nationwide. Its mission is to shine a light on unfair practices, push for policy reforms, and empower communities to um, share their stories. Unlike agency or market report, this charity puts lived experience first. Our research support its goal by converting raw online conversation into evidence that policymaker cannot ignore. By combining statistic with emotional storytelling, we provide renters Voice Australia with tools to shape public campaigns, influence decision makers, and ensure that every renter feels heard and represented in the housing debate.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the rental crisis snapshot. The Australian rental crisis is one of the most uh, pressing social challenges of recent years. Families, students, and even professionals face overcrowded inspections, sometimes with more than 100 people competing for a single property. Rents continue to rise faster than wages, leaving householders under severe financial strain. In addition, poor housing conditions are widespread with mold leaks and neglect commonly reported. The crisis is not just about supply and demand, it is about fairness, dignity, and security. Behind every statistics lies a story of stress and anxiety and fear of losing one's home.
Research aim and process. Our research had a simple but powerful aim to understand what renters are expressing and saying to turn those insights into evidence of advocacy. We began by cleaning dataset using Python or Scholar, ensuring that text was clean and concise. We then conducted frequency counts and cross-tabulations to uncover key trends. A chi-square test allows us to test relationships between location and themes. On the quantitative slides, we use thematic and content analysis to explore emotion we live the experiences. Finally, we create a storytelling image and narrative to translate data into completing visuals.
Through our group analysis, we identified the three main problems. The first and most dominant is affordability and competition. With renters facing skyrocketing rents and long queues, the second is poor property condition, where tenants live with mold, leaks, and neglect. The third relates to policy and market failures, weak tenant protections, unfair evictions, and regulatory gaps that favor landlords. These problems do not exist in isolations, they overlap, leaving renters exhausted and vulnerable. But clustering the complaints into these themes, we created a framework that anchors our analysis and gives clarity to the crisis.
So, so our quantitative analysis confirmed that affordability and competitive competition dominate the crisis. Nearly 8% of post reference rising rents or overcrowded inspection. This finding highlights how financial pressure and competition for homes are the most visible struggle renters face today. Poor property condition accounted for about 14% of posts, reflecting concern over health and safety. A small number fell into the other categories, including general frustration or unique experience. This result shows that while multiple issues exist, affordability remains the core driver of stress in the rental market and must be central to advocacy efforts.
So there are some finding locations. When we broke down the themes by location, interesting patterns emerged. In regional areas, affordability and competition complaints were even higher than in cities, with 84% of posters highlighting these struggles. Poor property conditions, however, appeared more frequently in capital cities, likely due to aging housing stock and high density living. Territories had fewer posters overall, but affordability remained a concern. These results show that the rental crisis is not contained to major cities. In affects renters across the country. The challenges, while varied, remain broadly similar regardless of geography.
Statistically significant trace. To test whether differences in complaints across locations were meaningful, we applied a G-square test of independence. Our table compared themes across capital cities, regions, and territories. This test returned a G-square value of 3.80 with 4 degrees of freedom and a p-value of 0.43. Since this value is greater than a conventional threshold of zero point 0.5, the differences are not statistically significant. This means the crisis cannot be pinned to specific areas. Affordability, poor conditions, and the policy failure are national problems. Champions must therefore to take countrywide perspective rather than focus solely on urban hotspots.
Numbers tells one side of the story, but words reveal emotions. Our qualitative analysis uncovered soul prints, direct quotes that capture renters' lived reality. One renter described writing with 90, others just view a flat reflecting the exhaustions of cus- concerned competition. Another side, we sleep in damp rooms because the landlord ignores repairs, showing how condition impact the health and dignity. These voices demonstrate fear, frustration, and fatigue. By highlighting them, we connect data to the people's experiences for advocacy. These stories are powerful because this transforms statistics into a relatable human centered messages.
Body map. The body map visualizes sees the most frequent words re-enter used in their post. A word like rent, tenant, mold, and bidding war dominant, showing how affordability struggle are linked to unsafe condition. The prominence of terms and such as stress and eviction reveals the emotional weight of the crisis. This finding remind us that renters are not just listening complaints; they are expressing pain and fear. Marketing research emphasis emotional appeal and brand storytelling, and this word cloud demonstrate how language itself become evidence that can shape campaign and generate empathy among audience.
So the image tells a story. To strengthen our message, we created a storytelling image that captures the crisis visually. It shows a long queue of renters waiting outside a house while gleaming city towers rise in the background. The boarded windows, cracked walls, and lease sign highlight security and neglect. This image is symbolic of the imbalance renters face every day. Demand outstrips supply and conditions while investors profit for advocacy. Visuals like this add depth and urgency. This translates statics into a powerful imagery that resonates emotionally and drives audience to care about this issue.
Narrative and emotional appeal. Effective communication requires narrative. Our storytelling narrative show how to crisis has returned renting from a choice of into a struggle of survival. Renters speak of overcrowded inspections, affordable rent, and unsafe living conditions. There were not abstract issues, they are lived daily. A renter says we cannot plan for a future when we rent take half of our income. This highlights the broader impact on life stability and well-being. For marketing research, this narrative builds brand empathy and strengthens the value of proposition of Rented Voice Australia. It appealed to audience emotions while remaining grounded in evidence.
Our research leads to several recommendations. First, launch the Fair Rent Now campaign, combining statistic with the renters' voices. Second, create a sentiment tracker to monitor ongoing social media discussions, ensuring advocacy stays current. Third, host community town halls or storytelling nights to unite renters and build a solidarity. Fourth, partner with the legal aid groups, housing cooperatives, and student unions to broaden support. Finally, translate insights into policy briefs that policymakers cannot ignore. Our call to action is clear: support renters, voice Australia, raise awareness, and advocate for fair rentals policy nationwide.
So, in conclusion, our research brings number and voices together. Quantitative analysis showed affordability and competition dominant, with 80% of posts highlighting this issue. Qualitative insight added emotional depth with renters, words, and our storytelling image highlighting real struggles. The chic square taste confirmed by crisis is nationwide, not isolated to certain regions. By combining evidence with narrative, we strengthen renters' voice Australia abilities to campaign effectively. Our message is simple but urgent. The rental crisis is real, it is human, and it is required action now. Together, we can push for fair rent and secure housing.
Thank you.